Lisa sat on the living room sofa, the wedding photo album resting on her lap. The yellowed pages opened like doors to a past that seemed distant, almost unreal. She reflected on those moments, the vows exchanged, the sparkle in Charles's eyes, and the happiness that once filled her days. It was hard to believe that the same person who once looked at her with so much love now directed looks of disdain and constant criticism. The image of the radiant couple surrounded by friends and family was a reminder of a time when love seemed unshakable. But now the reality was different. A climate of tension and distrust hovered over the house like a suffocating black cloud. "Do you really think that outfit is appropriate?" Charles's voice echoed in Lisa's memory, resonating like a cruel echo. It was one of many comments he made, always undermining her self-esteem. She rolled her eyes, remembering the dinner where, in front of friends, he criticized her for not dressing up enough. The embarrassment hit her like an arrow, leaving her speechless. "You could at least try a little harder," he said, with a nervous laugh that only he found funny. And there, among forced smiles and complicit glances from their friends, Lisa felt small, insignificant. That night, while the friends tried to change the subject, a feeling of anguish enveloped her. They laughed and chatted, but Lisa barely listened. She remembered the way Charles looked at her, as if constantly evaluating every detail, every flaw. The silence between them had become a battlefield, where unspoken words and resentments accumulated like a storm about to erupt. After dinner, back home, her phone vibrated with an anonymous message. Lisa hesitated before opening it, an unpleasant premonition invading her. The message spoke of a supposed extramarital affair of Charles. "It can't be true," she thought, her heart racing in her chest. "He would never do this to me." But the doubt began to take root in her mind, a shadow that would not leave her in peace. However, part of her refused to believe in the betrayal. The fear of more conflicts and the possibility of a devastating truth made her ignore the message. "Are you okay?" a friend asked, noticing her distant state. Lisa forced a smile, trying to hide the whirlwind of emotions consuming her. "Yes, just tired," she replied, but the lie sounded hollow even to her. What was once a safe space where she could share her fears and insecurities was now becoming a trap. The following nights were filled with insomnia and scattered thoughts. Lisa spent hours staring at the ceiling, questioning her life, her choice to stay with Charles. The image of the man who once made her feel special was now becoming increasingly blurred, replaced by a stranger who despised her. Frustration and sadness intertwined, creating a knot in her throat. "Maybe I'm just overreacting," she thought, trying to find comfort in the idea that it was just a complicated phase. But the truth was that, even so, the weight of distrust continued to grow. When she looked at the photo album, she felt that happiness was an illusion, a distant memory of a love that had turned into pain. The life she led seemed like a shadow of the past, and doubt lingered in every corner of her mind. That night, after yet another day of uncertainties, Lisa decided she needed answers. What was happening to her? To Charles? What had been lost between them? But at the same time, a deep fear paralyzed her. And so, in the silence of the house, as the night grew deeper, Lisa found herself trapped in a cycle of anguish and confusion, unaware that the twist she feared was about to happen. Lisa felt her heart race as she stared at Charles's phone, the illuminated screen reflecting the anguish pounding in her chest. The argument had been intense, an exchange of accusations that left her exhausted and confused. With trembling hands, she hesitated for a moment, but curiosity and the need to find the truth pushed her to unlock the device. Rummaging through his phone was an invasion of privacy, but the distress consuming her left no choice. Lisa's fingers nervously scrolled through the screen, opening apps and messages, until she found what she most feared. Among trivial conversations, one exchange stood out. It was a dialogue that made it clear there was something more between Charles and a woman named Mariana. The tone of intimacy, the emojis, the promises of secret meetings, and the affectionate words hit her like a punch in the stomach. How could you do this to me? Lisa thought as tears silently streamed down her face. She remembered the night Charles came home later, with lame excuses about work commitments. At that moment, Lisa wondered if her intuition had deceived her. But now, facing the palpable evidence of betrayal, the pain seemed unbearable. I don't deserve this, she whispered to herself, her voice choked. That same night, later, Lisa met her friends at a cozy cafe. The smell of fresh coffee in the air and laughter echoing through the space. However, the joy around her felt distant, as if a dark cloud enveloped her. When she sat at the table, her friends quickly noticed something was wrong. Hi Lisa, are you okay? You seem distant, commented Anna, the most sensitive of the group, looking at her with concern. Lisa hesitated but decided it was time to open up. I found out that Charles is cheating on me, she said, her voice almost a whisper, as she fixed her gaze on the floor. A heavy silence fell over the table, and then Raquel, always the most impulsive, broke the silence. What? How do you know that? Are you sure? Lisa pulled the phone from her pocket and showed them the messages. The three friends leaned over the screen, Raquel's expression changing to a mixture of indignation and compassion. This is horrible, Lisa. He has no right to treat you like this, she exclaimed, her fists clenched in a gesture of revolt. I don't know what to do. I feel trapped, Lisa responded, her voice faltering. Every time I try to talk about it, he makes me feel like I'm the crazy one. He says I'm insecure and making things up. Anna, with a firm look, took Lisa's hand. You need to value yourself, my friend. No one deserves to go through this. Have you thought about ending it with him? The idea of separating from Charles seemed frightening, but the conversation with her friends ignited a spark of courage within her. I don't know if I can. What if he blames me? What if everything gets worse? If he really loved you, he wouldn't do this. You deserve someone who respects and values you, Raquel said, with a determination that made Lisa feel a little stronger. The conversation continued, and her friends supported her, encouraging her to reconsider her life with Charles. They shared stories of overcoming, of moments when they had to be strong to get out of toxic relationships. Lisa began to realize she wasn't alone in this battle. The pain was still there, but with her friends' support, she felt a new determination forming within her. That night, when she returned home, Lisa knew that the conversation with her friends had changed something inside her. The anger and sadness intertwined in her heart, but there was also a seed of hope. When Charles walked through the door, she felt a wave of courage. It was time to confront him, to demand the truth, to free herself from the emotional prison that had held her captive for so long. Lisa sat on a park bench, surrounded by the soft murmur of leaves in the wind. The sun was slowly setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. It was a moment of reflection, a moment she had long awaited. The day before had been a turning point in her life. The discovery of Charles's betrayal had left her devastated, but it had also propelled her to act. Now, with a clearer mind, she was determined to take the first step toward freeing herself from that emotional prison. She looked around, watching children playing and couples walking hand in hand. An involuntary smile appeared on her lips as she imagined what her life would be like without Charles's shadow looming over her. I can be happy again, she murmured to herself, feeling a wave of courage growing within her. The thought took her back to the day she decided to join a support group for women. The idea of opening up to strangers intimidated her, but the desire to share her experiences outweighed the fear. The next day, as she entered the meeting room, Lisa felt her heart race. A group of women awaited her, each with stories of struggle and overcoming. The facilitator, a woman with gray hair and a warm smile, welcomed her with a hug. Welcome, dear. Here you are not alone. The words were a balm for Lisa's soul. who soon realized that these women were like her, seeking support and encouragement. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for this," Lisa confessed, her voice trembling. "Charles always made me feel like I wasn't good enough." The other women listened attentively, and one of them, a young woman named Louisa, shared her own experience. "You're stronger than you think, Lisa. The first step is believing in yourself. We can't let others define our worth." As the weeks passed, Lisa began to open up more during the meetings. She talked about the humiliations, the constant criticisms, and the pain of betrayal. The women became her allies, and their strength inspired her to seek changes in her life. In one of those meetings, a longtime friend, Clara, encouraged her to resume a project Lisa had abandoned, developing a line of handmade products she had always dreamed of. "Why don't you start working on that now?" Clara suggested, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "You've always had a talent for that, and it would be a great way to rediscover yourself." The idea ignited a spark within Lisa. "You're right. I should do it." The determination in her voice was palpable, and Clara smiled, pleased to see her friend rising again. With the group's support and Clara's encouragement, Lisa began planning her project. The creative process kept her busy and at the same time, helped her reconnect with a part of herself that had been stifled by years of disrespect. Sleepless nights were replaced by hours spent sketching ideas, creating prototypes, and seeking inspiration from everything around her. Each small advance in her product line was a personal victory. One sunny afternoon, while having coffee with her friends, Lisa decided it was time to take a definitive step. "I'm going to ask for a divorce," she announced, her voice firm. A momentary silence hung over the table before a chorus of support arose. "Finally, you're putting yourself first," exclaimed Louisa, as the others cheered enthusiastically. "I feel such a huge relief saying that," Lisa confessed, tears of emotion streaming down her face. "I'm ready to free myself from this situation and start living for myself." Her friends surrounded her, offering warm hugs and encouraging words. Lisa felt supported, as if a new life was about to begin. With this newfound determination, she knew she was taking the first step toward freedom. What awaited her was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, hope blossomed in her heart. The future seemed brighter, and Lisa was ready to embrace any challenge that came her way, determined to reclaim her voice and her worth. Lisa had decided it was time to change her life. The idea of attending dance classes excited her. It was a step toward self-discovery, a way to reclaim the joy she felt before her life was dominated by Charles's criticisms and humiliations. As soon as she arrived at the studio, her heart pounded with a mix of anxiety and expectation. The space was bright and inviting, full of mirrors that reflected not only the body but also the hope of a new beginning. "Hi, are you new here?" A woman with curly hair and a welcoming smile approached Lisa. "My name is Juliana. Shall we dance together?" "Hi, I'm Lisa. Yes, I'm new. I'm a little nervous," she replied, feeling slightly more at ease as she noticed the woman's kindness. "Don't worry. We're all here to learn and have fun. Dance is a great way to express what we feel," Juliana said, as she led her to the classroom. The classes began and Lisa found herself immersed in the music, letting herself be carried away by the steps and rhythm. With each movement, she felt a piece of the confidence she had lost over the years returning. The women around her also shared stories of overcoming, and that inspired her even more. After a few weeks of practice, a recital was scheduled. It was an opportunity to showcase what they had learned and, more importantly, to celebrate the strength each had found. On the night of the performance, Lisa wore a light, flowing dress that made her feel freer. Her heart raced as she stepped onto the stage, but as the music began, a wave of empowerment washed over her. Every step, every turn, was like freeing herself from all the chains that bound her to the past. At the end of the performance, a thunderous applause echoed in the room, and she smiled, feeling alive and powerful for the first time in a long time. When she returned home, Lisa's mind was full of thoughts. The feeling of freedom and self-confidence embraced her like a warm hug. However, when she opened the door, reality hit her like a bucket of cold water. Charles was there, waiting for her, his gaze filled with suspicion. "Where were you, Lisa?" he asked, his voice tense. "I was at the dance performance, Charles. You remember I told you," she replied, trying to stay calm. "Dance performance? And who did you meet there? Any new friends?" The sarcastic tone did not go unnoticed. "No, Charles. It was just women who are going through difficult situations like me. We support each other," Lisa said, determined not to let his insecurity affect her mood. "That's what you call support? And what did you learn from that? That you can do whatever you want without worrying about me?" Charles approached, his gaze challenging. Lisa took a deep breath. The anger and sadness he made her feel were things of the past. "Charles, I'm no longer afraid of you. I'm ready for a divorce," she stated, her voice firm. He stared at her, surprised, but his expression soon turned to contempt. "Do you really think you can just walk out of my life like that? And what will you do without me?" "I'll do whatever it takes to be happy, Charles. I'm not the woman you used to know. I'm reinventing myself," Lisa replied, feeling a strength she didn't know she possessed. He laughed, but the sound carried no joy, only disdain. "You don't know what you're saying. You'll regret this." "No, I won't. I'm ready to face whatever comes. You better prepare for what's coming," Lisa said, her determination growing with each word. And as she looked into Charles's eyes, she realized that it was the first time in many years that she truly felt in control. The journey of self-discovery she had begun would take her to places she never imagined. And now more than ever, she was willing to fight for her freedom and happiness. Lisa had a tumultuous day after her decision to ask Charles for a divorce. The adrenaline still pulsed through her veins as she prepared to face the storm she knew was coming. That morning, the sunlight timidly filtered through the living room curtains, as if hesitant to illuminate the tension-filled room. She looked at her reflection in the mirror and, for a brief moment, hesitated. But the image she saw in return was no longer the beaten and insecure woman she used to be. It was a determined woman, with a gleam of courage in her eyes. When she arrived at her lawyer's office, a wave of anxiety washed over her, but she took a deep breath and entered. The office was small but cozy, with shelves full of law books and family photos on the walls. Her lawyer, Dr. Camila, greeted her with an encouraging smile. "Good morning, Lisa. How are you feeling?" Camila asked, sitting across from her. "A little nervous, to be honest. I don't know what to expect from Charles," Lisa replied, running a hand through her hair in a nervous gesture. Camila leaned forward with a serious look. "Remember, you're in control now. What Charles did is unacceptable, and you have the right to seek your freedom." Lisa nodded, feeling a bit more confident. They discussed the next steps, and with each word from the lawyer, Lisa's determination grew. She knew she needed to gather evidence of Charles's infidelity to strengthen her case. The idea of delving into her husband's past was painful but necessary. That afternoon, while Charles was away, Lisa decided it was time to act. With her heart racing, she picked up his phone, which had been left on the living room table. After a few minutes of hesitation, she unlocked the device and began browsing through the messages. Every notification that popped up made her stomach churn, but she was determined. Finally, she found what she was looking for. Messages exchanged with a woman, full of affection and secrets. The words of love that should have been directed at her were there, exposed like a cruel betrayal. With the evidence in hand, Lisa decided it was time to confront Charles. He arrived home later than usual, as if he were avoiding his responsibilities. When he entered, he found Lisa waiting in the living room, phone in hand. "Lisa, what are you doing here at this hour?" he asked, irritation evident in his voice. "I have something to show you, Charles," she replied, keeping her voice steady. He frowned. "What do you mean by that?" She held up the phone, displaying the messages. "These are your words, Charles. You can't fool me anymore." His face paled as he realized his lies had been uncovered. "That's not what it looks like. You don't understand." He began to defend himself, but Lisa was no longer willing to fall into his emotional traps. "I'm no longer the vulnerable woman you knew. I know what you did, and I won't accept your manipulations anymore," she said, with a firmness that surprised even herself. Charles, now furious, tried to intimidate her. "Do you really think you can walk out of our life like that? I have my secrets, Lisa, and if you try to expose me, I won't hesitate to do the same." She felt a chill down her spine but did not back down. "Your secrets can no longer control me. I'm ready to fight for my freedom." The tension in the room was palpable. As Charles continued to try to destabilize her, Lisa remembered the supportive words of her friends and the strength she had found in dance classes. She was no longer the woman who accepted awkward silences or disguised insults as jokes. Now she had a purpose and she would not give it up. "I will go to court, Charles, and this time I have proof," she declared, with a determination that resonated in every syllable. "You'll regret this," he threatened, but Lisa was no longer listening. She had made her decision. The road ahead would be challenging, but she felt that she was finally freeing herself from the chains that bound her. With one last look at Charles, who stared at her with contempt, Lisa turned and left, ready to face the battle ahead. The courtroom was crowded, the murmur of the audience echoing as everyone waited for the final hearing. Lisa felt her heart racing, but also an unexpected calm. It was as if, at that exact moment, all her painful experiences had condensed into a single truth. She deserved to be happy. As she looked at Charles, who was sitting with his lawyer, she noticed his arrogant expression, as if he were still in control of the situation. But Lisa knew she was no longer alone. The judge, in his imposing robe, began the session. "We are here to decide on the divorce case between Lisa and Charles. Lisa's allegations have been substantiated by evidence, and now we will hear the final arguments from both parties." He turned to Charles, who stood up, trying to maintain his composure. "Your Honor, this woman is trying to destroy my reputation out of pure revenge. She was never an ideal wife and now seeks to discredit me with lies," Charles said, his voice dripping with contempt, as he looked at Lisa with disdain. His words cut through the air, but Lisa no longer let them affect her. "Sir, you are here to defend yourself, not to attack your ex-wife's integrity," the judge intervened with a stern look. "Please stay focused on the evidence." Lisa felt a shiver run down her spine. It was her turn to speak. She stood up, her voice slightly trembling, but determination filled her. "Your Honor, I am not here to attack Charles. I am here to seek justice. He betrayed me, not just with another woman, but also with the trust one placed in him over 15 years. I'm not the only one who knows this." She looked at the audience, who were watching her attentively. "I'm not the only one who has suffered from his lies, and I'm not the only one who feels the need to free myself from his control." Lisa took a deep breath, remembering her friend's supportive words and the strength she had found in them. "I brought proof, messages that confirm his betrayals, but what truly brought me here today is the truth about who he really is." At that moment, a woman hurriedly entered the room, interrupting the proceedings. The atmosphere grew tense and all eyes turned to her. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I need to speak," said the woman with a determined look. "Please identify yourself," the judge ordered, surprised by the interruption. "My name is Clara. I was Charles's girlfriend before his marriage to Lisa," she replied, her tone firm and clear. "I can't stay silent while he continues to lie. He betrayed me the same way he betrayed Lisa. He has a pattern of abusive and manipulative behavior, and I am one of the many women who have suffered because of him." The room fell into absolute silence. Lisa felt a mix of relief and surprise. Clara continued, "Charles always had a way of making women feel less. He belittled me just as he did with Lisa. I couldn't stay quiet after hearing the lies he told about her." "Do you have proof of what you're saying?" the judge asked, interested. "Yes, I have messages, photos, and even witnesses who can confirm my account," Clara replied while Lisa watched her, impressed by her courage. The judge signaled for the woman to approach and begin presenting her evidence. The room was filled with a tense silence as Clara showed the messages she had kept. The words that were once only whispers now became shouts of truth. With the evidence presented, the judge looked at Charles, who seemed to lose color in his face. "In light of the evidence and Clara's testimony, I rule in favor of Lisa. The divorce is granted, and custody of the children will be given to her." Lisa felt a wave of emotion wash over her. The weight she had carried for so long began to dissipate. She looked at Charles, who was now pale and speechless. "You can no longer control me, Charles," she said with dignity. "I am free now." As she left the courtroom, Lisa felt a new breath of life. The future, once nebulous, now appeared full of possibilities. She had finally broken the chains that held her, ready to start anew.
Lisa has shown us that, even in the most difficult situations, there is a strength within us waiting to be discovered. Her journey of pain, overcoming it and finding herself again, is a powerful reminder that we should never underestimate our worth. By facing her fears and taking charge of her life, Lisa inspires us to pursue the freedom and happiness we all deserve. If this story has touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and leave your comment below. We want to know how you felt following Lisa's journey. What's more, share this video with someone who might need a word of strength and encouragement. Oh, and before you go, get ready for our next video, where we'll bring you a story so moving that you'll need a tissue. Don't miss it.